Welcome back to the Start to Finish course on upgrading to .NET Core. We're currently in the module focused on the actual update of our application. And this lesson, we're going to be fixing a lot of those bugs in the class library that we just upgraded. Let's go right over to it. And our bug list is still here. We've got, it says 35 errors. I think there's more than that. But let's do this. And this may help you when you're working on things. Just build the project, not the whole solution. So there's 67 errors actually. We're going to work on those. Let's start with this system.componentModel.data annotations. Now you'll find that some things are just missing. So this is something that was built into .NET Framework. Now you had to add a DLL for it. And in fact, if you come down here, probably if you do Control Dot, it's going to say add a reference to that DLL. We're not going to go there. We don't want a reference to the .NET Framework DLL. That could cause us problems. But instead, we're going to right-click on the dependencies for Tracker Library, manage NuGet packages, and then search for system.componentModel.data annotation. I'm going to copy that and paste it in there. And we have system.componentModel.data annotations as a NuGet package. All right, so notice that this will work with .NET Core. This will work with .NET Standard. So this is a package you want to use. So we'll install that. And now this lights up and these errors go away. Our error list is down to 34 errors. Let's do this. Let's right-click and say rebuild on just our library. Now we have 16 errors. And those errors are all about, well, mostly about the SQL client does not exist in the namespace. So we have system.data.SQL client that doesn't exist. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to right-click on my dependencies, manage NuGet packages, and let's search for that as well. And well, you know, we have a system.data.SQL client NuGet package that will work with .NET Core, .NET Framework, and .NET Standard. So we install that. We accept the terms. And now if we right-click on our library and say rebuild, we only have 6 errors. And those 6 errors, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are about the configuration manager does not exist. So let's tackle that next. So configuration manager doesn't exist. And if we do a Control Dot here or do a pull down, it says, hey, do you want to install these 2 packages? No, I really don't. I know that this comes from system.configuration.configuration manager. So I'm going to copy this, right-click on dependencies, manage NuGet packages. I'm going to paste it in there and say .configuration manager. And there it is, top of the list. Again, this works for .NET Framework. This works for .NET Standard, as well as for Xamarin. So we can install this and close this out. And now this should work, and it does. It lights up green. Cool. We can right-click on the library and say rebuild. And rebuild all succeeded. Now, if we look at our error list, we actually have 2 errors, even though we rebuilt all and it seemed to work. And the reason why is because these aren't actually errors in our library. They're errors in the Tracker UI, which is our WinForm project, and in the WPF UI, which is our WPF project. And the reason why is because we cannot target a .NET Standard 2.0 project from a .NET Framework project that's version 4.5.2. That's why I'm not doing a build solution or rebuild solution, because the solution itself might not build. In fact, it won't build. We're just looking at the library right now. One way to kind of help with these distractions or get them out of the way is actually to right-click on the other projects and say unload. So unload project, and then unload project, and unload project. So now we have just one loaded project, and that's our library. Everything else is unloaded. If I were to build solution right now, the build succeeds, and the error list is empty of errors because of the fact that we don't have any of those user interfaces. Now, of course, it's going to build just a DLL, and that's not going to need something we can run, so you can't just hit run for the checker library, but it allows us to do a full build. Now, those are all of the obvious errors, the things that actually throw design time errors. But there are some things that are going to cause us some problems down the road. I'm going to point them out, but not fix them yet, because really this comes under the umbrella of the next bug fixes video that we do. We do the WinForm upgrade. But let's look at the email logic. I just want to point this out because it seems like everything looks great. But this SMS or SMTP client right here, this initialization, that won't work the way it is right now. Because what it's dependent on, let's reload this project, it's dependent on the app.config having the system.net section. But the problem with that is that you can't have this in a .NET Core 3 project, even though it can have an app.config. It can't have a system.net. So we're going to have to lose that, and subsequently it can't pick up that section when we do a new SMTP client. So there will be things under the surface. So your DLL may compile, but you may have to look through, run through your entire DLL and see that things work the way you expect them to. Now, the ideal thing here would be if we had a set of unit tests, because then we could just kick off those unit tests, run them against this library, and make sure they still pass. The ones that don't, we address those as well. That's one of the huge benefits of unit testing, is the ability to refactor, the ability to know I broke something when I refactored, because this really is a big refactoring. We refactored this library from being a .NET framework project to a .NET standard project. We can't do it with as much confidence as we could have if we had unit testing. Because unit testing, I could just kick that off and say, yes, we passed, or no, we didn't. But since we don't have that confidence, we're going to miss the fact that this won't work in the new system. But don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for this class library upgrade. We're going to move on next to upgrading our WinForm user interface at .NET Core 3, so we can then address some of those other issues with the class library at that point. Okay, so come on back for that next lesson.